Welcome. You have entered the realm of 1111 Talk Radio. Your host is Simran. It's time to discover your own language with the universe. Empower yourself, broaden your mind, open your heart, and discover who you are. Now, here's your host, Simran.
Welcome. I hope that you are enjoying the day and allowing yourself to rise in the harmony of your heart. When I began my work in the spiritual world with other people, I had certain insights that came through that I knew were as true within my bones as they are in reality. And one of those insights were that we are light, sound, and color. And to say something like that, the mind will go in all manner of directions, because how could we possibly be light? And okay, we can stretch what we are as color, or we can say what we are as sound by the way we use our voice. But it's more than that. It's grander than that. It's more subtle than that. And I think I began to realize that more and more as I had my second child, because that child hummed all the time. He's now 14 and he still hums. He's constantly making sounds, and he is one of the most joyful, healthy, amazing individuals that I have ever met. And I believe that he is allowing his light, sound, and color to fully express. Well, this was confirmed in powerful ways through a book that we are talking about today titled Healing Through Sound, Awakening Your Audible Body, and it is by Vicki Dodd. She is the founder of Sacred Soundworks and an internationally known pioneer in the field of sound as bodywork. As Astern patterning teacher, author, poet, nutritionist, herbalist, workshop leader, and musician, Vicki started using sound as a healing modality in her work with clients over 50 years ago. And she found some amazing things and has shared them powerfully within this book. She says one of sound's main teachings is its ability to help us remember our nature, that we are nature, and that plants and trees have a nervous system that is similar and often more complex than our own, that the DNA of the planet is similar to our human form, and that we possibly have much to learn from nature itself. This is from her book, Healing Through Sound, Awakening Your Audible Body. And you are in for an insightful and beautiful conversation today when it comes to healing, when it comes to tapping into what can support your nervous system, and how to begin to really vibrate at a higher octave than where you reside right now. Welcome, Vicki, to 1111 Talk Radio. It is a delight to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful to be here this morning with you and honored that you invited me.
It's a really wonderful book. It's filled with lots of stories of healing, of many different things, and also a wonderful explanation and exploration of how you came about this understanding through healing yourself and others. And I want to start first with a statement that you have in the book, which says, sound changes the physical form. Because I think that's what we're really talking about here, or at least what the listeners will be listening for as they approach some of the issues that they're dealing with in their life. How is it possible that sound can change physical form?
Well, on a very simplistic way of looking at it, we are liquid. We are 70, 80% liquid. And so sound, and especially our voice, is a beautiful conduit to move the liquid in our body. And basically it's a rearranging. We're constantly needing to rearrange placement. It gets too sluggish over here, it gets da-da-da, So using our voice, it has this innate understanding of regulation. What needs to be where, how much needs to be there. And using our voice, more and more we'll start seeing the accuracy that comes forth by the body knows what to do. It starts remembering. And often it just needs to be moved. The liquid can become sluggish. It can become too coagulated, crystallized. Especially in our electronic world now, we have to actually, at least my experience is that we need to even do more sound than we needed to do when I first started exploring this in the 60s. And that's sort of what took me there was we were on computers, beginning to be on computers a great deal, and we started finding more and more congealedness by those of us that were on the computers more. Not anything wrong with computers, and they weren't going to go away, but we were going to need to learn how to keep our liquid body more alivened. All right, so that it would not entrain with that particular rhythm and get congested and congealed so easily. Does that make some sense? I hope
it makes a lot of sense, and I'd like to dig a little deeper because I think we've gone through some eras where the focus was about fitness and exercise and moving the body for those reasons, and then it pivoted to our power of the mind and how we move into positive psychology. And then it shifted into, well, perhaps we need to know ourselves a little bit better, more emotionally, which then triggered us into discovering we're traumatized. We've all got wounds. We've all gotten to these places. So then we morphed into this area of individuals doing either yoga or somatic practices to try to work that out. Sound seems like something deeper and subtler that literally threads through all of the others, but has in many ways been dismissed, ignored, or perhaps unknown.
Yes, I agree, and it's may it come back, may it be remembered, may it be evolved more and more into us, because it actually moves faster and complements any of the other forms you just mentioned. It is not contrary to anything else. It's so I can, because literally sound moves our liquidness, and being able to stay liquid is so essential to our well-being. And yeah, just, it's like shake us up, keep us moving. Let me know that liquid in me, that crystallized liquid, has an intelligence that just wants to be able to stay enlivened, and that it will go on, please.
You said something else too. You said that when you began and the computers began, that's when you started to notice something different. And if I look around at the world today, if I look at my son that I spoke about, or my older son, or just people in general, they've got not only electronics as a big part of their lives, but we've turned into this society that is continuously consuming information, which means we're listening all the time. But it doesn't sound like we're listening to the right thing, that we need to actually shut those things off to really be able to listen to what you're talking about.
Yes, I think that's true. I think it's true. I think we really are forgetting more and more about how to listen, or what there might be to listen to outside of some form of electronically induced frequency. I have to get quiet to listen. I have to get quiet to listen. I have to unplug to listen. And I don't know if we're going to change any of that. I was just with my grandchild, and I'm seeing it, and his friends, they're all plugged in. Nothing's wrong with being all plugged in, but after every so often we need to unplug to listen. What am I missing being plugged in? And because I have just limited my soundscape.
You also talk about your body as your teaching laboratory and how sound became your teacher.
Oh,
and in the beginning, I read a passage from your book where you talk about nature and plants. And I know that much of your journey was this ability to listen to the plants and sense the sound and vibration there, to deal with your own nervous system issues that you were plagued with. Can you start there to talk about, first of all, how that evolved to become this way of being able to then heal individuals through the use of sound, or at least teaching them how to do that?
Yeah. See if I can really recall step by step. I don't know if I can, but yes, being able to start using my own voice was at the time was absolutely revolutionary. Now we're going back decades and decades. And I mean, there was not such a thing called sound healing. As a matter of fact, no one wanted what I had. So I had to train in every form of body work, therapies that I could find so I could get a front. So you would think that I knew something, so you would come to my studio and I could listen to your body. I wanted to listen to as many combinations, possibilities, because this was my laboratory. This is how I was learning about sound and how it shapes us. And I don't know if that's what you're asking me. I think that.
Yes. How does it shape us and then move us from resonance to dissonance? Or is it not sound that's doing that?
That's a good question. I think we are a liquid system, and one of the I think we have to do more than we've ever done, maybe since the beginning of humans on the planet. I don't know. I think we have to do more than we've ever have needed to do to stay liquid, because one of the problems, I mean, we love our electronics. I'm not saying let's get rid. We love them. We need them. We want them. You and I are on it right now. We wouldn't be able to connect without it. But it also, I need to realize that the more that I am receiving the gifts of this, I also need to know that I'm being entrained frequency by it as well. So I'm going to have to do even maybe more on a daily basis. I'm going to have to include that into my rituals or my routine of self-care daily. And sound is a beautiful way to keep my liquid more liquid. You know, a lot of the electronic world, its frequency can coagulate some of our liquidness. Not all of us. We all are very different in that way. But there is a reason why years and years ago that word couch potato was, because it really is what would happen if you sat in front of the television. It sort of started putting you into a place like that where you couldn't move. And the frequency literally was shaping us. So we need to be very aware of the frequencies around us and how they're shaping us. It doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad, but I need to know that I'm being shaped. Do I want that shaping? Or I need to be able to take that shaping for certain activities that I'm doing and then to move it and find out what is my shape. Let me be restored back to my own neutral place. We're jumping around a little bit. I hope that's all right. And but it is all connected of becoming more and more aware of how we are affected by frequency, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And some people are not. They're just not. They can just get by with being involved in everything, and I've often envied folks like that, actually. And some of us don't have that kind of room, that we're affected too easily, maybe. So it takes.
I think that's why your book resonated with me so deeply, because the nervous system work and being a strong empath, I understood clearly the soaking up, and I'm very sensitive to external sounds or things that feel like too much noise, even if others are completely oblivious to those degree of sounds.
Yes.
But that makes me more aware also that in our oblivion, we're being impacted. Our structure, as you said, is being changed and crystallized and contributing to some of the tension, some of the stress, some of the impact on our bodies. So is that part of what is also creating a lot of the health issues that perhaps we see today.
I think absolutely. I think absolutely that, and so much light. It's if you can live in communities where it's never dark. It's never dark. You can't see the sky. You know. So light and sound. Yes, and we need dark, and we need quiet, but we may not be able to have that. So we have to start creating our own possibilities of such.
You're speaking about like our circadian rhythms of darkness and light, and allowing ourselves to return to that.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about sound and sound healing, you know, a lot of people are going to be thinking about sound healing from this external perspective, like tuning forks and tuning bowls and those types of things. Can you speak about the distinction between the impact of sound healing when it comes from external, such as that, versus the types that you talk about in the book, the sounds that you give us to intone within ourselves?
Well,
Does it make a difference?
Well, yes. I think it makes a big difference. Not that it doesn't all work. See, sound works, period. Music works. Touch works. But it's we need to find our own preferences. For me, I want the human voice. My human voice is going to be able to communicate the emotional layer, the intricate changes that take place. The human voice will show that. It will show how much, like right now, you can hear how much sleep did I have last night? How long have I been up yet? This morning. It's in our voice. What's our mood state? We say to people, you're just not sounding right, And so the human voice is so honest. The human voice, this is why I love the human voice, because it tells on me. It tells on you, it gives me an honest report. I mean, I can become an actress and I can change my voice. But if I want to just be authentic about my voice, it will be my teacher. It will tell me where you're at today, Vicki. What might you be needing? What are you going through? Is there an emotional layer that's wanting to come forward? We know so much when we hear people speak. We may not know it on an intellectual, I might not be able to give you the data, but we know. It speaks to our heart. We know it speaks to our gut. We'll go, you just don't sound right. Are you sure you're okay? And it's in the voice. So I never want to lose our using our voice as our medicine.
That's such a large issue for so many women. That's probably the number one issue that many women would say they're plagued by, that they've lost their voice. And sound, I guess, helps us to tune in, pardon the pun. You say that all that has ever happened to us is recorded in our bodies as frequencies, and that sound is a means to remember.
Yes. That was one of the first major, and continues to be major, teachings that sound brought to me. I did not expect that. I didn't know a thing about sound. When I just had to make sound. I was always able to perceive frequencies. I didn't know what its teachings were. But that was the beginning of it. Yes.
And what is sound bringing us to remember? When we do that, when we allow ourselves to sound or hum in different ways, or make some of the sounds that you have in the charts in the book, what does that remembrance become?
I think it brings us to our essence, brings us to our humanness, brings us to our other than humanness, brings us to our humanity, brings us to our hearts and our guts, brings us to know that we're going to be all right. It can start mending and healing in ways that I don't even know I need to be mended and healed. It rearranges my very essence. It rearranges my tissue. You know, it has an intelligence that if I give to it, if I allow it to have its way with me, it will restore me to a place of centeredness that I could not find by just doing this exercise, that exercise, this exercise, that exercise. Let me start trusting that let me follow it instead of me trying to guide it.
You have several stories within the book that make it really palpable as an understanding as to how sound can be such a vital practice within our lives. And one of those was where you were talking about teaching a workshop and how whenever you leave a workshop, you always make sure to do a sounding so that you bring yourself home. And you teach people when they go to these retreats and workshops or gatherings or corporate events or places where they're with lots of people, that it's important to do that, that we must bring ourselves home. Can you explain that a little bit more as to what are we bringing home? Are we pulling back our energy? Is sound bringing us back into ourselves? Exactly what's taking place and why is that such an important practice?
Well, yeah, I'm sure that we've all had the experience of going to a workshop, being very excited, or been in a weekend with people, some kind of conference, and we just love to be together, actually. We love receiving information. We love sharing information. And in that process, I can also start losing myself. The strand over here, I left over some over there, I left parts of me over here. It's not like it's a bad thing. But when I leave there, I may feel kind of discombobulated. It's like, oh, I feel so spacey. And people go, oh, yeah, that's just because you were just doing all that work. And that got my attention years ago. It's like, wait a minute, we should be feeling more grounded, more whole, not all right? So it's like, what's going on? Oh, I'm leaving myself. So it's like, oh, let me go back around and gather, like feng shui. Let me gather parts of me that I left over here in my excitement, in my enthusiasm, in my anger, in my grief, in my confusion, whatever. Because I start feeling confused or in trouble when I start leaving parts of me around. And it's not like there's anything wrong with it, but it makes life harder. That's when I'll start forgetting things, or I will get lost, or, it's like, wait a minute, I need to just pause for a moment and call myself home. Any parts of me that I have left someplace else just out of excitement or forgetfulness, anger, fear, all kinds of reasons I might have dislodged a little part of me. And just like, come on home, honey. Hey, shikata na na na, just come on home. Let me, bring me back home. Bring me back home. And it can take seconds. It's not a very long process.
That's what's so beautiful, is it can be instantaneous, and it's something that we carry with us everywhere we go. So it's so easy.
It's so easy. Exactly. I was never one to have to schlep a lot, It's like, it's just right here with me.
Because we can make healing and personal growth and spiritual exploration sometimes so hard and so much work.
Yes.
And this seems like a practice that can help us lighten up.
Lighten up. Make it easy. I don't think it's designed to make it hard, And it doesn't make it better because it was so, we had to endure so much. I have to have a loving source, a loving planet. Yeah, yes.
Vicki Dodd says that her business is taking care of her nervous system, taking care of her health, and staying out of the way of others. She says, if I mind my own business, my nervous system, I need not mind the business of others. While humming, I find it helpful and comforting, touching the front of my body, the center core, from the throat to the pubic bone, following my frontal spine and gently touching the front of my torso while humming. I have the intention of calling my nervous system back home to my body. I do this exercise slowly, allowing time to heal myself and feel myself coming home. We can come home, one fascia strand at a time. This is from Vicki Dodd's book, Healing Through Sound, Awakening Your Audible Body. It is filled with stories, practices, many different ways that you can utilize sound, where you can have a simple and easy practice that is with you always. It is a beautiful practice to teach to the young so that we start to become more present, start to listen more deeply, and start to open our bodies to greater ease, rest, and relaxation, most importantly, to greater presence. You can find out more about Vicki Dodd and all of her work, including her book, Healing Through Sound, and her other book, which is titled Tuning the Blues to Gold, Sound Prints. And she has several recordings available as well. Her album, Rest Assured, Parasympathetic Resonance, invites intention to rest, to entrain, to restore, and to remember how to live within the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system that our being can rest, relax, meditate, digest, and assimilate our nutritional needs. So we must balance and care for this. Again, find out more at sacredsoundworks.com. That's sacredsoundworks.com. And we'll be right back with more of Vicki Dodd and Healing Through Sound.
Voice America is on LinkedIn. Connect with us today.
Do you want more? More joy, more abundance, more power and presence? How would it feel to have more loving relationships, more empowered community, greater fulfillment, and life purpose? The 1111 Mastermind community inspires, empowers, guides, and supports transformation. Shift your mind, expand your heart, deepen insights, let go and chart a new course, dream a new dream. The 1111 Mastermind community is an online portal for personal transformation and soulful expansion. Go to courses.1111mag.com. That's courses.1111mag.com. Change begins with you. Let it be simple, convenient, and transformative. The time is now. Step through the 1111 gateway. Courses.1111mag.com.
Have you seen 1111? Do you wonder why certain numbers keep showing up in your life? 11, 111, 22, 33, 444. People all over the world are seeing 1111 and learning the language of universal communication. Subscribe to 1111 Magazine today. www.1111mag.com. 1111 Magazine is a bi-monthly print publication that offers a rich, multi-sensory experience. As you engage with experts and topics of consciousness, become enlightened, empowered, and energized, so you live a passionate and authentic life of conscious choices. 1111 Magazine, a daily staple for lifting the mindset, discovering the heart, and stepping into conscious living. 1111 Magazine. Order now at www.1111mag.com. 1111mag.com.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are listening to 1111 Talk Radio. Simran is an award-winning author, publisher of 1111 Magazine, powerful speaker of wisdom, and a life mentor. Find out more at IamSimran.com. Now, back to 1111 Talk Radio.
Welcome back. My guest today is Vicki Dodd, and we are talking about healing through sound. And she will tell you that your issues are in your tissues, and that all matter is frozen music. She invites us to imagine that this may be true, that we are frozen music. And as we listen, as we sound and vocalize this body composition, we become enlivened. We practice listening. We slow our breath, we pause, we listen. From our feet, from our heart, from our bellies, we travel deeper into this terrain of the seen, unseen, and unspoken to become familiar with its nuances. We listen because everything that has ever happened is recorded in your body as frequencies. You can find out more about Vicki and all of her work at sacredsoundworks.com, and I invite you to explore her books, her albums, her work that she does with individuals, and start to learn how sound can be an easy, simple, practical, and beautiful way to bring yourself home, to heal your nervous system, and to support you through some of the other issues that you might be having. Welcome back, Vicki. I want to talk a little bit about how sound is this crystallization, how it breaks down the part that is frozen within us, how we can use something as simple as humming to do that. And you share in the book a story about having shingles and what you utilized, and then sharing that with someone else who had shingles and that it worked on them as well. So sound doesn't always have to have sound externally to actually support us. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, silent sounding, I think I was calling it. I find actually that silent sounding or imagining sound is often, for me anyway, has proved to be far more dynamic and accurate than my audible voice. And especially if you've ever had disturbances in your physical realm that you can't handle sound. Oh, it's like I can't talk. I can't. It's too much. That kind of feeling. But you can hum it inside you. You can sound inside. I traveled a great deal this life working and sharing this work. And I would often be in other folks' homes. And I would be needing to really release, to be able to get present. Maybe I'd been traveling, over to Europe or South America or anyway, a long journey, and I'm needing to get present. And so I would lay in the bed there and I would silently rant and rave, sound, bring me home, yakety yak, what, but I could do it all silently. And that was what started teaching me, is that it wasn't the volume of sound. It was the intention of sound. It was basically just the body knew how to sound. I just needed to give it permission. Go ahead and do what you need to do, honey, And sound has been my teacher. It keeps teaching me. And especially during times of stress and it's like, okay, what do I need to do now? And I would hear this hum going on. I don't know. Did I get off of what you were asking me? I'm sorry.
No, that was perfect. It had me go into a train of thought of how, especially in our westernized world, our heads are constantly chattering. They're so busy. There's so much noise. And even when people attempt to meditate, sometimes they say there's just so much noise. There's so much chatter. And you write that sound actually quiets the noise in our heads.
Yeah. Yes. Let me sound the chatter. There's something about matching what is there that starts allowing it to dissolve. Matching, not fighting it. If I fight it, it gets stronger. If I play like it's not there, it has its way with me. But let me just match it. Let me just come right up to it and match it. It's that's the alchemy of it. If we match what is changes.
For yourself and your own practice, and I know that before we started the show, I heard you sounding in the background. And so the sounding Tell me about your practice. How would you advise as someone is beginning? Is this something that you consciously set a time aside to do this? Does it need to be conscious sounding, or can you casually hum throughout the day or make sounds throughout the day? What is the best way to utilize sound?
I don't know if there is a best way. One needs to, it's according to where one is beginning. When I first began using my voice, I sounded all the time. And I mean, just all the time, and especially in the shower. And there's a reason I think that a lot of us like to sound in the shower. And because then I could use the water as different colors, and you know, the imagination really comes alive, because color is sound. Everything is sound, you know, and everything is color. And but also it's like, let me get the clutter out of my head so I can be present with this woman here today. And that was what you were hearing from me. It's like, let me just get here now. Let me not an hour from now, so I can sound whatever might be just running around in here. Let me just, it's not about analysis. It's not about trying to, any kind of figuring it out or even trying to get rid of it. Let me just acknowledge it. If I match what is there changes, and or it starts rearranging itself in a manner that is more helpful. Is that what you're asking? Is that
Yes. And as we move into sound, I know you write that we never know what we're going to sound, that we have to come to this from a place of curiosity. So it's I think in our heady world, so often it becomes more about doing it right or having the correct strategy or making sure that we don't make mistakes, that we lose the essence of what the experience actually can give us.
That's beautiful. Yes, instead of let me just sound what is there. So it takes some courage and willingness. In those early years, I would have to walk and walk and walk and pray to become willing. Just let me become willing to sound what is there, instead of wanting to rearrange it, make it pretty, make it this, make it mysterious, make it something other than let me just sound what is there. Can I trust? So it's a deep spiritual work. It truly is. It's a deep. It's not about a technique as much as it is learning to trust. Learning to trust what is there. If I sound what is there, it will, and follow it like it's getting a hold of a thread and just following that thread to see where it wants to take me. Let me become. Go on.
And this feels like a really intimate invitation into the wild of ourselves, into the nature of ourselves.
Yes. And, and we can only go as far as we want to go, so it's not about getting ourselves scared or we're going to run. It's like when you're finished, just pause for a while, breathe again, and see if you can come back for a little bit more, but because there's no push, never any effort. If I'm efforting with my sound, then I'm not listening.
You spoke about silent sounding, and you have a statement in the book where you talk about the hum, and you say that our hum is a doorway, an entry into the inner mystery school. I love that.
Yeah, I can't think of anything more powerful than the hum. More soothing, I should say. More soothing. And it's in every culture. Every culture, you've got some form of a hum going on. And, it might sound like, it might, it all forms, my mother was one of my main teachers of the hum, and I write about that, I think, in the book, about how I realized years later that was keeping her calm and well. It was helping her nervous system, and It's soothing. Our bodies love the sound of our voices. If we could just really, really appreciate that. So many of us are so harsh on ourselves about our voice. Oh, I can't sing. Da, da, dee, da, da. Our bodies, they don't care. Our bodies just love us. You know?
I think that's the key, too. I know in my own experience as of late, I've gotten such strong messages from my body that it wants me to hear, to really listen and to commune and to be with it in a different way. And it had me thinking about how we dismiss the body, how we ignore it, how we drag it along on all of our minds and egos' escapades without care for whether or not the body wants it. And so when we talk about listening, I think we've become so deaf to, especially ourselves, but we're even deaf to the world in many ways. But we've become so deafened to our bodies. How do we even begin to hear what it wants?
Good questions, huh? Good questions. Well, what you're describing first, there's got to be a lot of mending. You know, somewhere I've got to start being in acceptance of myself. You know, warts and all, good, bad, ugly. You know, because it's that judgment you're talking about that can stand in the way of any healing that I might be able to receive. I've got to get good enough, no matter how I am, to receive my healing. It's like I used to joke years ago, it's like, who needs an enemy with what we've got going on in our heads about ourselves?
Yes.
And so it's like, really, it takes for some of us more than others, but I think for all of us to some degree is, you know, teach me how to truly, unconditionally love this being that I am. And when we start really working on learning about unconditional love, I think we start discovering how many conditions we actually have. Well, I would love you if you da da da. I would love you da da da. You know, unconditional love is not a simple concept, let alone practice. And but I do think that it's a worthy goal to practice it.
You're right. Acceptance of what is the key for transformation. Can I be in acceptance of myself exactly as I am? I need not be any different than who and how I am to be seen and received by grace. Can I be in acceptance of exactly how you are? And you say that the body is listening to see if we will listen, that the earth is waiting to see if we will listen, that the trees in the plant world are waiting to see if we will listen. And so much of that is dependent upon us slowing down, becoming present. Is that our biggest issue right now? We don't know how to pause. We don't know how to slow down. We're not present.
Well, I think it contributes to a lot of problems, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of mistakes are made, a lot of accidents happen, a lot of relationships are destroyed because we can't just pause for a second. I got to do it right now. You know, can't just pause for a second, you know, and catch a breath. Let me get here. Let me get to where my feet are. But that little nervous system has gotten so revved up that it's like it's life or death, and it rarely is. There are moments, yes, where we need to move or react in such a way, but it's rare in most of our lives. It's usually self-created somehow. And, you know, so then I may have to change my lifestyle if this is happening on a regular morning thing, then I may have to start earlier in the day. You know what I mean? I have to start becoming willing to care for my nervous system.
I know that in several times within the show, you have done a type of sound that is different than the hum or the silence. And I imagine that's the aerobic sounds that you speak of in the book.
I didn't know I would made sounds.
It's so natural that it's become a part of you. That's so amazing. May we all be so fortunate.
Oh my. Okay.
So talk a little bit about aerobic sounds.
Well, sometimes life just gets sluggish, right? I can't remember this. I've got too much on my plate. I'm too crowded. There's just too crowded. The schedule's too full. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, but the result can also be, difficult. So I can just start. Let me sound some of that. Whatever it might be. Let me just give it sound. Let me match its rhythm. I don't try to figure out what it is. That is not the time to figure out what's going on. It just needs to have some expression. So then it can actually unfold and reveal what is it's teaching for me, But just sound, for one thing, on a physical level, it can get my circulation moving. It can wake me up. It can get those neurons charging, So really our voice, we've got this huge medicine bag here, just with our voice. It has nothing to do with being a singer, or needing to be a singer. As a matter of fact, being a singer can be a hindrance to sounding. Because of our own judgment about what is a good sound. So, but because it actually activates that sluggish nervous system, the sluggish circulatory system. It wakes us up. And I remember when I first started sounding, and it was like, please, I need to wake up. I didn't know what I was asking for, but I knew that it was so easy, even in the mid-60s, it was so easy to see how effortlessly we could fall asleep, And I didn't know what I was wanting to wake up for, but I knew that I had not been put on this planet to just fall asleep at such a young age. And so sound, I just started making sound, and I really encourage it, not trying to figure out, what does this sound mean? I think that it can really stop us sounding if I have so much meaning about everything.
That feels like there's so much freedom in that. And I'm very aware right now, courses tend to happen in trends where all of a sudden you see certain topics become the big topics that are being sold online. And as of late, there's so many that are focused on the jaw or the tightness of the tongue, what's going on with the throat. So it seems to me that bringing in a practice of sound allows a lot of those issues in the area of that section of the body to free itself.
Yes. I'm glad that there is so much attention with the jaw. It's been my focus for 50 more years. Any body worker, it's been our focus. It's not the neck's problem. It's not the spine's problem. But that jaw is one of the strongest muscle systems in this body of ours. It was our first defense system as a human being. And so it's long, historically, it knows how to grab on and hold on. And all you need is a little bit of fear, a little bit of fright, and so I have nothing but respect for learning how to soften the jaw so that you can breathe, just so you can breathe, So it begins with having respect for this body and respect for what has taken place, respect for the histories of these systems, and just telling it on a regular basis, oh, you're just so wonderful. Look what all you have gone through. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. It sounds maybe simplistic, but it is amazing how our bodies need to hear us say kind things. It's like, oh, you're still too big, or you're still around, instead of complaining about it.
Yes, that has become such a powerful awareness as of late, and it's so noticeable in prior life experiences and watching other life experiences, and to hear the freedom with which you sound, to model that, to be that example on this show, Vicki. I just have to say that has been powerful, to feel the empowerment in that, to feel the wildness, the freedom, the healing, the example is truly amazing. So I appreciate it and appreciate you so much. My guest today is Vicki Dodd, and she has written a beautiful book, which I highly recommend, Healing Through Sound, Awakening Your Audible Body. She says our work with sound is a constant formula of listening, observing, asking permission to be in communication with the rhythms, timings, shapes, colors, messages that our bodies wish to reveal. It becomes a sound print of textures. This is the reason we spend much time within our own laboratory, our own bodies, listening and sounding ourselves, our stories, our wounding, before we begin to listen to the complex math of unwinding the wounding of others. Definitely check out all that she has to offer. Go to sacredsoundworks.com. Pick up her album, Rest Assured, Parasympathetic Resonance. She will let you know on the website how to get that. And you can pick up her other book, Tuning the Blues to Gold, Sound Prints. Once again, the book is Healing Through Sound, Awakening Your Audible Body. Thank you so much for being with me this week, Vicki. It has been an honor and a pleasure. And to my listeners, until next week, I am Simran, in love, of love, with love, and as love. Be well.
Thank you for opening your mind to a new reality, your heart to greater compassion, and your experience of aliveness with 1111 Talk Radio. Join host Simran next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time to step through the gateway of conscious living here on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Remember, you are not on the journey. You are the journey.